Assalamualaikum. We are here to present to you about hibah. I am the first presenter for this group and I will start to explain to you about hibah definition. Hibah can be translated simply as a gift, which is the granting ownership of property from one party to another without any consideration, or we call it as iwad. That occurs during the life of a hibah provider, made voluntarily, not meant to glorify anybody, and given by reciting an ijab and qabul or any such expressions. Next, I will continue to you about concept of hibah. If a Muslim wishes to give away something they own, such as a amount of money, to someone else, a person or organization, such as a charity, then they may do so by transferring the legal title and position of the gift itself to the recipient of the gift. Okey, jika seseorang tu ingin melakukan hibah, dia perlu melakukannya secara sukarela tanpa dipaksa oleh mana-mana pihak. Okey. So, jika dipaksa, maka itu bukan dikira hibah. Kerana hibah ni perlu mengikut 4 syariah prinsipal, iaitu yang pertama ialah the settler, al-wahid. Yang kedua ialah the beneficiaries of hibah, al-ma'hub lahum. Then the assets backward head as hibah, al-mawhub, and lastly sirah, or we known as ijab and qabul.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am going to present about the dalil of hibah. The first dalil is for the condition of hibah from Surah An-Nisa. Fa'in tibna lakum an syai'im minhu nafsan fakuluhu hani'an mari'a, which mean then if they willingly give you part of their wedding gift, then eat or use the gift which is halal as a delicious favor for the good end. The next one is from Abu Hurairah radhiyallahu anhu, which is tahaddu tahabbu, which mean give each other gift, you will surely love each other. The next dalil is for the rate of the property for hibah. The dalil is from Numan bin Bashir radhiyallahu anhu, Attaqullaha wa adil wa bini auladikum, which mean be pious to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and be fair to your children. This shows that hukum syarak give freedom to property owners to make gifts without being bound to a certain rate. In fact, according to ijma, it is necessary for a sin property owner to donate his entire property. The last dalil is for the cancellation of hibah. The first dalil is from the Umar bin Al-Khattab, which is fa'in al-ada fi hibatiha kal kabi yuwaddu fi ki'in, which mean indeed the person who withdraw his grant is like a dog that licks back its vomit. The next one is from Abdullah bin Abbas radhiyallahu anhu, which is la yahillu arjuli in yu'tiya al-atiyata fayarji'a fiha ila al-walada fima yu'ti walad, which mean it is not halal for a person who has given a gift to withdraw his gift except the gift of a father to his son. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you to our presenter Fikri for explaining about dalil of hibah. Now I would like to move on to hukum-hukum of hibah. Before that, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Muhammad Ashraf bin Abu Suman. My matric number is 067311. Now let's continue to the hukum of hibah. Hukum-hukum of hibah. As we can see, we got 3 hukum of hibah, which is sunat, haram, and makruh. It is sunat when we give a gift to another without asking for anything in return. Then it is haram for the giver of the hibah to take back the gift that has been valid as the right to vote for the recipient of the hibah, except for the hibah of a father to his son. The father should take back the gift from the child, narrated by Abu Dawud, which means it is not lawful for a person who has given a gift to withdraw his gift except the gift of a father to his son. For the last one, hibah is makruh when we are asking for a reward in return or using the gift to do something bad, narrated by Al-Bukhari, which means indeed the person who withdraws his hibah is like a dog that licks back its vomit. That's all from me. Thank you.
It has 4 conditions of hibah. The first one is the settler, or known as al-wahib. The settler must be an independent adult of sound mind, has attained puberty, and of sensible conduct. The settler must be the legal owner of the assets. This gives the settler full authority over the assets, enabling him or her to fully ascertain the extent or amount he or she wishes to give as hibah, and to whom he or she chooses, which includes a non-Muslim, subject to the prerequisite that the deed of gift does not violate Shariah law. The second condition, the beneficiaries of hibah, or known as al-mahub lahu. A beneficiary of hibah can be any person, whether a Muslim or non-Muslim, as long as the person is able to inherit the asset by bequest as an adult or minor. The hibah beneficiary must be able to accept the asset and know to beneficiaries and be able to exercise ownership over the assets. In other words, once an asset is given by settler to the beneficiaries, ownership and control over the asset is transferred to beneficiaries. If the beneficiary is not an adult or has a disability, a representative or trustee may be appointed to accept the asset on his or her behalf. The beneficiaries must accept the asset given have the power to own it. In other words, the control of possession of the property must be given to the beneficiaries. The third one is the asset bequeathed as hibah, or known as al-mahub. Assets endowed as hibah must fulfill a few requirements. Assets must be halal and have value under Sharia law. The settler must have ownership over the assets, and the ownership over the asset are transferable and are in existence at the time of hibah. The last one is sirah. Sirah refers to a verbal or non-verbal agreement or conduct that signifies the offer and acceptance of the gift of hibah. Example of clear expression of ijab are such as the settler said, "I give this thing to you," or in the form of a hint or kinayah when the settler said, "I have given the ownership to you," or "I made this thing for you." Example of expression of acceptance are such as "I accept," "I please," and any such expression.
Dari segi hukum syarak adalah pemilik harta bebas melakukan pemberian pada kadar tertentu. Kemudian dari segi ijma' pula, pemilik harta yang waras akal fikirannya harus menghibahkan keseluruhan hartanya. Mengikut pembahagian harta secara faraid, hanya waris-waris si mati sahaja yang layak mendapat harta pusaka. Mengikut konsep wasiat pula, ia hanya boleh dibuat kepada bukan waris sahaja. Namun, hibah boleh diberikan kepada sesiapa sahaja yang dikehendaki oleh pemberi, sama ada dia merupakan waris ataupun bukan waris. Namun, Rasulullah mengingatkan kita supaya berlaku adil kepada anak-anak sebagaimana hadis tersebut, yang bermaksud bertakwalah kepada Allah dan berlaku adillah sesama anak kamu. Seterusnya, hibah semasa marad al-maut, iaitu pemberi hibah dalam keadaan tenat ataupun sakit yang boleh membawa kematian. Maka hibahnya tidak boleh melebihi 1/3 hartanya dan tidak boleh dihibahkan kepada waris. Ini bermakna hukum wasiat adalah terpakai. Sekiranya diberikan kepada ahli waris, sama ada kurang 1/3 atau lebih, maka ia tertakluk kepada keizinan atau persetujuan daripada waris yang lain. Sebagai tambahan, selain daripada melakukan hibah secara langsung, masyarakat boleh menjalankan secara atas talian. Dalam keadaan pandemik COVID-19, kajian sepanjang tahun 2020 menunjukkan masyarakat awam telah mula mengadaptasi penggunaan transaksi di atas talian secara maksimum. masyarakat mahukan dan lebih memilih untuk berinteraksi di atas talian, maka penyediaan dokumen hibah secara atas talian juga adalah salah satu cara bagi mempermudahkan penyediaan dokumen tersebut tanpa mendedahkan mereka kepada risiko COVID-19.
Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. Today I want to talk about the types of hibah. Types of hibah consist of two types. The first one is the absolute hibah and the second one is the conditional hibah. The first one, absolute hibah, it is also known as al-hibah al-munjizah. It is given as the gift which is free when the settler is still alive. Nevertheless, there are a few drawbacks when it comes to absolute hibah, such as the higher cost, the settler lost his or her ownership on asset with immediate effects, and the last one is the asset will be an irritant in the case where the beneficiary recipient passed away. The second one is a conditional hibah. A conditional hibah is a contractual hibah where the settler places certain conditions together with the hibah contract, which is akad for the transfer of ownership to happen. There are a few types of conditional hibah, but the main ones are the umrah and rukbah. For the umrah, is ownership of asset is given to a person by fixing or limiting the ownership period. This is based on the death of the beneficiary or recipient or the death of settler. And the second one is the rukbah. Rukbah is the transfer of ownership from one person to another, which is if one of them, which is settler or beneficiary, passed away, the property that is endowed as hibah will be owned by the one that's still alive.
The implementation of hibah as an executor or trustee appointed in accordance with the provision under Section 5(4) Islamic Religious Administration State of Selangor, Enactment 2003, the Selangor Islamic Religious Council will implement or witness the process of hibah declaration and transfer of property given fairly, transparently and professionally to the depositors and recipient of hibah. The hibah execution fee is 1% of the value of the property given. This fee does not include disbursement, compulsory payments to the agency and court costs, if applicable. The implementation of the transfer to the recipient of the hibah will be carried out after the death of the depositors. However, you can put additional conditions in place to carry out the transfer, such as coma, permanent paralysis, critical illness, or depositor withdrawing from hibah. If the recipient of the hibah dies, the organization provides several options which are: first option, recipient of hibah are adults and under the age of 18. There is no acceptance clause and consent to return the asset. If the recipient of the hibah has passed away, then the property will be the recipient inheritance. Second option, recipient of adult hibah. There is a clause of acceptance and consent by the recipient of the hibah to be returned of the asset. If he dies first, then the property will be returned to the depositors. Third option, recipient of hibah under the age of 18. There is a recipient clause and an agreement by the custodian of the property to return the asset. If the recipient of the hibah dies first, the clause is signed by the guardian, then the property will be returned to the depositor.
Antara isu yang sering dibangkitkan dengan harta yang boleh dihibah ialah the property that is not yet perfectly owned by the grantor, sama ada the property is still in collateral or mortgage. Nowadays, we can see that many Muslim people in debt to get something such as buy a house. It is impossible for them to buy a house with cash without they decide to owe the money from the bank. Sekiranya pembeli-pembeli harta berkenaan tidak dibenarkan untuk menghibahkan those property, then they will only get less of the benefit of the property kerana kengkangan tersebut. The most question often being asked is whether the giver can bequeath the entire property. Most property management instruments other than hibah set certain rate of property that can be bequeathed. The rate of property that can be bequeathed by a testator according to Islamic provision is only 1/3 of the property. Net of it remains that are still there at the time of his death after being used for his funeral expense and the settlement of their debt. Maksudnya, kadar harta yang boleh diwasiatkan oleh pewasiat menurut syara adalah 1/3 sahaja daripada harta bersih peninggalan yang masih ada pada waktu kematiannya. A will that exceeds the rate of 1/3 of the testator estate is invalid unless the heir agree to the excess rate. If the heir not agree, then the will is valid up to 1/3 only in the excess of being an inheritance. Maksudnya, wasiat yang melebihi kadar 1/3 harta pewaris adalah tidak sah kecuali waris-waris bersetuju dengan kadar yang lebih itu. If they agree, maka wasiat lebih daripada 1/3 adalah sah. And if they are not agree, then wasiat yang sah hanya setakat 1/3 sahaja. Selebihnya menjadi harta pusaka.